Hey there guys, welcome to Anthony Reviews where Anthony reviews. I'm a big fan of Captain America, and because of that I do have quite a few Marvel Legends figures of Steve Rogers. Now, I've done a collection video on a lot of these figures a few years back now, but I decided to do something a little bit different to kind of show these figures off. So in order to do that, I'm going to be doing a tier list of these figures. We're going to be going through every Hasbro Marvel Legends Steve Rogers Captain America comic book figure. I know it's quite a few determining factors, but stick with me here. We're going to be going through all these figures and giving them a ranking from anywhere between E to S. Now, full transparency, I will say that this video is 100% inspired by Rob Pollock's other Marvel Legends tier list videos that he's been doing of recent. So if you want to see a tier list on something like Iron Man or Wolverine, please go check out his videos. But for here, let's go ahead and take a look at Hasbro's offerings of Captain America. We're going to be doing these in a pretty random order, so we're starting off with the 2016 Onslaught Build-A-Figure Wave Captain America. This is pretty standard Captain America as you could possibly get. He's got all the right colors, he's got sort of a very plain, just flat body look to him. This is Captain America. Now, to be fair, they did spice him up a little bit by including an alternate head to give him that sort of werewolf Captain America look, which I believe is the only time we've ever gotten that in figure form, so it does have that sort of unique feature, which is why I have two of them here, but more or less, it is just Captain America. At the time, this was pretty good to get because it had been a minute since we gotten sort of a vanilla Cap. This is something that could be sort of inspired by 80s period, maybe even 70s a little bit. Like, this is timeless. There isn't really a specific era that you could even say this for. Like, sure, it's Steve Rogers as Captain America, but he doesn't look like any sort of artist interpretation or doesn't have like a detail that ties him to one specific idea. It is just evergreen Captain America in a sense. While the body at the time was a pretty good, just sort of standard muscular body, you know, a bit bigger than your average person, but not hulking like Thor or, well, the Hulk, I do think that at this point, it does come off a little small. I also thought that head was a little big at the time. This is sort of just what the head looked like in this era from the 2014 to I want to say maybe 2018 period. They kind of had this look, not my favorite look for Marvel Legends, sadly. I would say that this is a very standard figure, but we've definitely improved since then, so I'm going to give it a C. Let's go ahead and take a look at a weird Captain America. This here is the Venomized Captain America, which I guess at the time was just sort of a Hasbro and Marvel push to release Venom-related stuff. I'm even struggling to remember if we got other Venomized characters. I think we got like a Spider-Gwen and maybe some others. I honestly don't remember too much, but obviously I had the Captain America because it's Steve Rogers and that's who I collect. And I mean, it is a Venom Captain America, you know, he's got the sort of tendril look to him, he's got the Venom mouth, but with the Captain America A, as well as the sort of wings on the side. Like, it is the guy. I can't deny that, so it is that. I do like the shield a lot. We get this sort of shield with this piece on there to give it this very living, wild look with the sort of gooey looking blues and the whites of the star and everything, so I do think that this achieves the look that it's going for. Is this a quote-unquote necessary figure? No, not at all. However, if you're looking for a Venom version of a character, I think this is basically the best sort of version of that you're going to get with Captain America. Like, if they were to do this character again for whatever reason, I can't imagine them doing any better than what they have. The textures are nice, the paint is nice, it is Venom Captain America, or Captain America Venom, or however you want to look at it. It gets the job done, so that's why I give it a generous B. Let's go a little bit deeper in Hasbro's history and take a look at the Ultimates World War II Captain America. Now, this figure originates from 2008, so right around the time that Hasbro was first getting that Marvel Legends license, and was re-released in 2011 around the time of the first Captain America movie. This guy is clearly inspired by the sort of World War II look as seen in the Ultimate comics from Marvel. So instead of having a sort of spandex classic superhero look, it is very much the army fatigues with the helmets and the gun, just done in Captain America colors. I'm not a huge fan of Ultimate Captain America, but I do think it's kind of a cool idea to have this sort of retro, almost Rocketeer-esque version of Captain America. Something to give it sort of a real-world feel. I mean, does Captain America need a real-world feel? I don't know, that's debatable. But I do think that in terms of this figure, the paint looks really nice. You get a lot of cool details on the sort of pants and the jacket pieces. I like the shield. It's a nice shape. It's a nice size. We don't get this sort of classic shield very often, so it is good to see. And while I'm more of a fan of the sort of normal, just sort of simple, no expression faces, when I think Ultimate Cap, I do tend to think angry. So having the sort of exposed eyes and the gritted teeth works for the character. While this isn't my favorite version of Captain America, I do think that Hasbro did a good job, especially considering how early it was in their years, so I give it a B. Let's take a look at another simple Captain America, this one being the 2017 retro-carded Captain America. This one is more or less exactly the same as the one that we saw from 2016, just with a slightly different paint job and the sort of scale mail armor on the chest. No, unfortunately, it's not sculpted, but it is painted on, and it does evoke the feeling of the sort of scales that Captain America normally has in the comics. Other than that, though, it is exactly the same as the other, so it really does come down to preferences, whether you like the color of this Captain America, if you like the sort of scale paint job on there. That's the only differences for the most part. My copy is actually a little defective, I guess. It has a painting sort of error where they didn't paint the wings on the side of the head, which is a little weird, looks a little strange. In the same vein as the 2016 Captain America, which this shares a lot of similarities with, I do think we have better Captain Americas now, so unfortunately this gets a C tier as well. If you're looking for an improvement on the sort of scale mail look no further than the 2019 80 years anniversary Captain America. This Captain America was sort of the start of a trend of using actually sculpted scale mail on the chest and the arms there, which gives it a bit more of a better sort of high quality look. The colors on this guy are very muted, I will say, so if you're looking for sort of a bright, poppy, classic Captain America, that is not what this is. This one, as well as some of the other figures in the 80th anniversary line, feel much more inspired by the Alex Ross paintings. I guess they were trying to give these characters a bit more of a premium, kind of like special feel to them, and so that's why they kind of look the way that they do. I do like the shininess of his chest and the way the sort of scale pieces sort of look. Compare that to his sort of mute pants down there, it does stand out in a good way. Despite his sort of muted colors, I do think that the figure looks good. So, compared to the other two that we saw that were a bit more basic Captain Americas, this one is better, so I will give it a B. Going back in time to 2012, we get our first ever Commander Rogers figure. While yes, it's not Captain America, it is Steve Rogers, and it is a comic book look, so I'm gonna take a look at it. As a design, I do think it looks good. This is sort of Steve Rogers post-Captain America, you know, he's a commander in S.H.I.E.L.D. It does sort of evoke Captain America while also being strictly S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, so I think that accomplishes it. However, I'm gonna be honest, I hate this body mold so much. This was a mold that Hasbro used, in my opinion, way too much. We got it on a few Captain Americas. I believe they used it on Magneto at one point. I just like nothing about it. It has ball hips, which I will always hate ball hips on a Marvel Legends figure. You'll never make me like them. It's just not going to happen. I feel like the torso is oddly small. I don't like the chest. Just overall, I feel like the proportions on this guy look very, very strange. While I like things like the colors, and I like the sort of muted blues as well as the browns used for all the belts and the boots and all that stuff, like, I like that about it, I just don't like this body whatsoever. This head sculpt is also very dated, you know, that's not the figure's fault, it came out when it came out, what are you gonna do, but it works, it's fine, but yeah, like I said, that body, I don't like it, so this gets a D tier. Let's take another look at Ultimate Captain America, this one coming from 2023. This figure is very bright and very colorful and very angry, as you can see in the face sculpt here. As opposed to the World War II look, this is his sort of modern look, which is a bit more traditional Captain America. You do have some changes, like the gray on the sort of underarm area. You had the red sort of circles with the stars on them on the shoulders, and of course no physical wings on the mask. So he looks a little bit weird without him, but that's just what Ultimate Cap looked like. Detail-wise, I do think this looks really good. I think the chest looks great. I think that looks exactly like Ultimate Cap. I like the sort of detail on the boots as well as the legs and everything. Like, overall, detail-wise, I do think it looks really good. Are the colors a little too poppy? Maybe. I think of Ultimate Captain America and the Ultimates, and I think of a very dour, post 9/11 cinematic world. You know, that was the sort of vibe of that period of those comic books, and this feels very bright. It feels very cheerful, despite his sort of grimacing, angry head. So, I don't know if that fully connects with me, but overall, as a figure, he does feel solid. He does look good. I think that all those details are really, really nice. The shield is nice and big. I like that about it. The colors are a bit muted compared to the rest of him, honestly, but overall, I do think that it's a good figure, and so I'm going to have to give it an A. We are turning the clocks back all the way to 2007 to take a look at Hasbro's very first Marvel Legends Captain America, all of their own, and this is a very, very classic Captain America. You can see the details, like the way that the mask is just sort of like a helmet with nothing connecting to his neck. His shield is very classic with the minimal amount of stars. I like the sort of overabundance of the stripes in the mid-torso and the way that the stars sort of stretched out on his chest. Honestly, I do like this figure. Now, articulation-wise, he's very limited. You know, there's not a whole lot that is going to work for today, but I do think that the idea is here. He is a bit weird proportioned. He's a bit hunched. As you can kind of see, he's very wide shoulders and his neck sort of comes forward and he kind of looks a bit hunched, but that kind of works for Jack Kirby art, doesn't it, right? Like, I don't know, that's not too crazy. His hands are very open. He's got two very open hands, so no fists, unfortunately. He's got ball-jointed hips, and I mean, I've already made my opinion clear on those. Not good. And the way the ab crunch is very, I'm just going to say ugly. I don't like how that looks, so not a fan of that. I'd love for them to do a new classic take on this Captain America. We need that sort of first appearance cap. This is the only figure we have of a Captain America like that. We desperately need a new one. I'm kind of struggling because I do like him, but he desperately needs improvement. So I'm going to put him in C. It's a high C. I don't think he's that bad, but I'm going to put him in C for now. For now, as if I'm going to change it. It's a C. I have to commit. It's a C. But B? No, sorry. It's a C. Going from the Golden Age Captain America to a very modern style one, we are looking at the Marvel Now Captain America from 2014. Now, this is around the time Winter Soldier is coming out. This is sort of the revival of Marvel Legends was 2014. We had that Amazing Spider-Man 2 wave and that Winter Soldier wave, and then it kind of dominoed from that point on. So I have a lot of fondness for that period of time, and I was also reading the comic books at the time. I still am now, but I was really reading them in that time period. So I do have a soft spot for the sort of Marvel Now period and the Marvel Now Captain America design. This design does feel very MCU inspired, taking things like the sort of Ultimates designs, like the gray under the arms and everything, but give it a very tactile, sort of like big bodysuit, almost somewhere between the first Avenger and the Avengers movie. It does have that feel to it. He's got knee pads and everything. So it's a very busy look, but I do think it still works. He still looks like Captain America. Instead of the normal sort of like scales and things, he has more of a textured, I almost want to say carbon fiber, but it's more so just like a textured chest and sort of shoulder pieces to give it Captain America, but very modern Captain America. This figure, sadly, is fairly dated. He's a little bit small compared to a lot of the Marvel Legends now, so just purely on that alone, we could use an updated look of him. And yeah, 2014 head sculpt, little tiny. It's not the greatest in detail and paint. I do think that it gets the job done. I do like this figure, but like a lot of the other ones, desperately needs an update. If they made a new Marvel Now cap, I would absolutely buy it. I guess that's not saying much because I buy every Marvel Legends cap, but I would want a new Marvel Now cap. That's just what I'm saying. I've had this figure for over a decade. We could use a new one. So unfortunately, as much as I like this guy, he's going in C. Let's go back to a nice classic looking Captain America with the 2024 Secret Wars Captain America. So this figure is relatively new. He has the sort of lighter color scheme, kind of similar to the 2017 retro carded one that we had earlier. But this one is using a lot more of those newer body parts like we saw with the 80th anniversary. And so you have the sculpted sort of scales on the chest and the upper body, but Everything else is very classic. You got the sort of big, cool gloves, you've got the pirate boots. How you'd think of Captain America, that's how he looks like here. This Captain America did come with a smiling face, which feels fairly appropriate for Captain America. You know, he's a friendly guy, he's a nice guy. I imagine him being able to help out others, almost like a firefighter of sorts, so smiling face, yeah, it works for what it is. One downside with this figure is that for his shield, it did not come with a full intact shield. To make this one special, I'll say in quotes, it came with a broken shield, so it's busted up, it comes in pieces. I kind of wish they would just release a normal shield with these Captain Americas. Like, you know, it's occasional, it's fine, it's fun, but especially since it feels like very rarely do we get like a really good, perfect shield. Especially for this Captain America, for how classic he looks, you feel like you'd want him to come with all the basic needs. So I do like this guy. I do like the colors quite a bit. It's borderline reminiscent of like the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. It's not that exact color, that's a very weird color for Cap, but it's a lot closer than more of the deeper blues that we see on some of these figures. I like the smiling face, I like the sculpted detail. This may be one of the best figures we've seen so far. It's going in A tier. Let's look at a bit of a weirder Captain America. So while that one was from Secret Wars, the 80s comic book, this Captain America is from Secret War? Singular? Except not really. So this is the 2016 Abomination Ways Secret War Captain America. He's got this very, very deep sort of navy blue look to him. He's got grays and all these sort of like silver and red lines running around him. This is a concept figure, essentially. This is based on concept art for a comic book that never used this exact suit, so it's a very, very strange pick. It does feel like 2016, you know, we had a Captain America movie out, makes sense to put Captain America figures out, and someone found this design and decided to make it. I almost want to like it more than I do. Like, the idea of a sort of stealth Captain America does sound cool. You know, I kind of like that idea, kind of like what we saw in the Winter Soldier movie that took the sort of Commander Rogers outfit and made it Captain America-esque. Like, I love that outfit. This one, it doesn't work. I don't like the wings on the side of the head painted on, not a fan of that. So, yeah, the fact that this is almost completely unnecessary for a collection, you know, it's not even from a comic book technically, it's an unused design, it's absolutely skippable. I want to like it, and that almost hurts more, so we're gonna put that in D tier. Alright, let's take a look at a bit of a controversial Captain America. This is the Secret Empire Captain America. So for those of you who don't remember, there was a period where Steve Rogers was no longer Cap again. This was the second time he wasn't Captain America in the modern age, and Sam Wilson became Cap. Then there was shenanigans involving the Cosmic Cube, a sentient version of the Cosmic Cube, and Captain America was able to become Captain America once again. There were two Captain Americas running around, and so Steve adopted this very modern-esque design. Very not what you would think of with Captain America. Like, sure, it's blue, and it's got this sort of textured chest, and he has sort of a classic shield. Kinda, not really. But if you know this design, you know what this is. This is the Captain America from the Nick Spencer run that revealed that he was part of Hydra. It was this whole secret thing where in his past, it looked like he was actually recruited by Hydra, and he was secretly Hydra the whole time, except if you were reading the books and you paid attention, it was pretty clear that his mind had been altered by the Red Skull. There was a lot of imagery at the time of like red being a prominent color and these black and white flashbacks. We know how he got his abilities back, the whole Cosmic Cube thing. Bucky Barnes was there. It was a whole ordeal, and people didn't like it, which is fair, you're allowed to have opinions, but it caused them to rewrite it, and it made it very complicated, and anyways, I really like this figure. I think this figure looks fantastic. I remember at the time when this design was coming out, I was like, oh, well, that figure will be out fairly soon. And it took like a decade or so for this design to actually make it in figure form. Not really a decade, almost a decade. Either way, I like this figure. I think it's really, really well detailed. I like the shape of the shield. I like the sort of grimacing face, and it honestly looks better than the Ultimate Cap. I'm not entirely sure why. Something about it I think just looks better. I like the color choice. He feels good when I'm holding him. I know the character itself is pretty controversial. I know the design isn't for everyone. I'm gonna give it A tier. Don't hate me. Alright, let's go a little bit farther back into the world of the Ultimates from the 2013 Ultimate Captain America. So, as you can clearly see here, this is using that same body mold as that Commander Steve Rogers that we saw earlier, the very early 2010s Hasbro Marvel Legends sort of muscular body. And you know I'm not a fan, so that is not a good sign. I do like a lot of the details about this. I like the gray pants. That was an ultimate Captain America look there for a while. The colors are very muted, which I think is appropriate. I like the sort of vest, the leather vest looks kind of neat. Like, it does have a lot going for it, like in terms of details and things that really do make him stand out. I would like an updated look at this, version of the character. I think that would be cool. I still just don't like this body. It really, really upsets me in a way. So, yeah, let's just get this over with. It's a D tier. Okay, we saw the Secret Empire version earlier. Now we get the full-on Hydra Cap. So this is Hydra Cap, mask off. He sort of revealed himself as this evil presence. So we get a Captain America that's very armored up, very much Hydra colors with the greens and the golds and everything. As much as I praise the Secret Empire Captain America and how good that figure looked and felt and all that, I don't really feel the same with this one. Like, I get it. No, I get it. It's Hydra Cap. It's Captain America about Hydra. So he looks armored and evil and scary as opposed to the warm and safe and strong Captain America. I don't have a good feeling with this figure. It's not pleasing to kind of mess around with. I don't really like the design overall. I get the design. I don't like the design. And as you can kind of see there, the shield, the little clip broke. I didn't even talk about all these clips, man. I'd be here all day. That's its own video. It's just talking about the clip system for Marvel Legends. It broke. It's just on there with sticky tack. Oh well. D tier. Okay, here we have another sort of Commander Steve Rogers figure. This one is much more current. This is from 2023. Uses a lot more of a current sort of body that you would recognize from Marvel Legends. Very, very similar design though, with the sort of boot coverings and the belts and the harnesses and everything. It's a fairly normal looking figure. He does stand out with the sort of hologram shield. I think that does look nice for what it is. It's not too crazy, but it's what he had in the comics, so it does look kind of cool. I do like the colors. I do like the sort of overall look of him. The head sculpt is a little bit iffy. Luckily, we've had a lot of Steve Rogers heads, so if you want to swap it out, you probably could, but he does look a bit ugly. He's got a lot of wrinkles. He looks very aged, which is not usually the case with this Captain America. Like, he's older, but he's not old. So yeah, I don't think that looks super great. I feel like somewhere in between this figure and the original figure is like the perfect figure, but that doesn't exist as of now, so this guy gets a B tier. But like a pretty low B tier. Let's return yet again to the world of Ultimates at another crack at World War II Captain America. Now this figure is a bit more special because he does come with a motorcycle, so that does make him stand out and feel that sort of World War II essence in a way. It is a very similar design, and it does have much better articulation than compared to that first Hasbro one from 2008 and 2011, but I do feel like the feeling isn't the same with this one. He's got the goggles on the eyes, which does kind of take away from the sort of emotion of that Captain America, and he has a very sort of normal, plain, stoic head, which, like I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of, but the grimacing nature of that version of Steve Rogers is just a bit more accurate, I guess. The colors are really nice. I do like the helmets. Like, it is a good figure. I'm not going to say that it's bad because I don't think that's the case, but at the same time, I almost feel like the other one captured the essence more of that figure. So like, once again, kind of similar to the Commander Rogers figures, maybe in between, there's like a perfect version of this character, but it's still a good figure, so I'll give it a B, but this is a B- compared to the other one's a B+, if you want to think of it that way. For this next figure, we have yet another Captain America on that horrible, horrible body that I keep ranting about. This is from 2014. This is a 3-pack. It came with, I believe, Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, as well as Radioactive Man. No, not the one from The Simpsons. It's a different guy. So a pretty just sort of Avengers-themed 3-pack, I guess if you want to say. just getting figures out there because obviously Marvel's on the rise with the stuff like the MCU, so having a Captain America that's more or less normal. Like, he's got belts and things that are kind of stand out, but like, he's got the reds, he's got the blues, he doesn't really have anything that's too drastically wrong or crazy or ultimates or anything like that. It's a fairly normal Captain America. He did come with a sort of plain Captain America head, but I also have the Steve Rogers head on there. Same head that we got with the Commander Rogers figure from earlier, so a lot of similarities between Commander Rogers as well as that Ultimate Captain America that we saw before. I think I've made myself very clear how I feel about this body, and as of right now, there's nothing special about it. It's not Ultimate, it's not Commander Rogers. It is essentially the worst bland vanilla Captain America that we have. So for that reason, he gets the lowest tier I have, an E tier. And the last figure that we have here is the 20th anniversary Marvel Legends Captain America, celebrating 20 years of Marvel Legends figures. This is sort of the definitive normal Captain America, if you want to call it that. He's got the reds, he's got the blues, he's got the sculpted sort of scales on the chest. He comes with sort of optional harnesses if you want to look like he's got his shield slung on his back. This is a very, very standard Captain America. The Steve Rogers head he comes with honestly looks really nice. I do like it quite a bit, and I do like the sort of piece that's optional to give him sort of a down-cowled look. He has aged a little bit just because some of the pinned limbs are a little bit loose, but that's kind of normal for Marvel Legends. And of course, the biggest downside that you'll hear from any Marvel Legends fan is of course the shield. We get this shield, which has great colors in my opinion. It's a good size. I love the size of the star, but it has these holes in it. It came with these sort of special effects that you can have to make it look like he's deflecting bullets, or it has lightning on it, or whatever. I feel like if this had just come with the simple standard shield, this would be an S tier, but it's not. It's a really good Captain America. This is how I imagine Captain America looking. Like, this is the guy. But that shield is so important. The shield is Captain America. If you carry the shield, that's you. You're Captain America. That's how it works usually. So because of that, it sounds like it's giving it a bad grade. It's not a bad grade. We're putting this guy in the A tier. He's really, really good, but obviously, he could be better. And that's it, guys. You know, I just said I was doing the comic figures. I'm not doing Gamerverse or the MCU or anything like that. So maybe I'll do that at another point, but who am I kidding? All right. Brand new, came out this year. We have the Gamerverse Captain America that came in a 2-pack with Venom. I'm sorry, I just gotta talk about this guy because I love him so, so much. This guy is Captain America. The colors are perfect. He comes with a nice shield that looks really good. He's got the flat sort of chest as opposed to the scales on there, which is perfectly accurate to tons of comic books, especially the periods that I enjoyed this character. This is Captain America. Beautiful articulation, pinless joints. He is more or less perfect, I want to say. Like, we will continue to get Captain America figures for all time. He is one of the pillars of Marvel. So we'll probably get a better figure at some point. And this is not a comic book figure technically. This is based on Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I get that. But, however, it fits in perfectly fine with other comic book figures. This guy is perfect as a comic book Captain America. I love him. He gets an S tier. This video is brought to you in part by Hobby Link Japan. If you're a fan of things like Super Sentai, anime, or just Japanese media in general, why not check out Hobby Link Japan? They've got figures, statues, and a whole horde of different kinds of collectibles. Use the code on screen to get 10% off all in-stock items. Check out Hobby Link Japan today using the link down in the description below. And that is all of the Marvel Legends from Hasbro comic-styled Steve Rogers Captain America figures plus one Gamerverse. Ranked for you guys to see. We got a lot of B's, a lot of C's, some D's, and we did give one S, so you know, that's pretty good. This was honestly kind of difficult to do just because there's so many factors and things that go into figures. Does the age play as much of a factor as I think it should? You know, there's a lot of things to consider here, and I did try my best to be fair. Obviously, there's certain things that I just do not like, and so that will always bring a figure down, but I try to consider the options, the paint, the sculpting, all of those things. So I hope that I did a good job in you guys' opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Do I have figures in here that belong higher, belong lower? I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, tier listing the Captain America figures from Hasbro's Marvel Legends line. Obviously, I have quite a few Marvel Legends Captain Americas, and I have more that I did not show in this video. So you think if I should go ahead and rank the rest of them, please go ahead and let me know. Feel free to check out some of my other videos if you like Marvel Legends. I've got stuff on the X-Men, Spider-Man, Captain America, just other Marvel Legends videos, and other videos if you'd like to check those out as well. Once again, shout out to Rob Pollock for those tier list videos and inspiring me to do this one. I promise I wasn't trying to ape off of it or steal this idea. Obviously, he didn't invent the idea of a tier list, but feel free to check out his videos on Iron Man, Wolverine, and War Machine. They're really cool. I think they're worth a watch. Feel free to subscribe for more videos in the future, and I guess that is pretty much it. Thank you guys. Take care.